It just feels like home here at the Leaky.
Doesn't it though?
How many hours have we spent at the Leaky?
Oh man, and it's so close, and look over your shoulder, and that's where we worked for many, many years.
Yeah.
So, Bruce Murdock,
Hey.
let's start where you started at KGW and how you got there and how you got hired. And I know there's a Benson High School background.
Benson High School was involved. Actually, KGW and I started in 1962, the big hurricane. Everybody in the neighborhood went to this one house that didn't have any trees in the park, in the yard, and we were all huddled in the dark listening to Jack Capel on KGW, talking about and I was, what could I have been, 8, something like that, and I said, that's what I want to do. I want to be on the radio. So shortly thereafter, my Cub Scout den wound up on Heck Harper's show. Okay, and this is the old building on 12th or 13th. It's now the freeway, and they took us on a tour of the broadcast facility before the TV show started, and we were walking down a hall, and there was a speaker, and I think maybe Wes Lynch was on the air, and the news guy started talking, and I looked through the studio that Wes Lynch was in, and I saw the news guy talking, and I recognized the voice, and I said, that's it. It's, that's magic. So I started playing DJ in the garage, and that was it. I was lost. I was a DJ from then on. We moved back from Vancouver back to Portland at high school, and one of our trips across town, I noticed a big radio tower outside Benson High School, and I asked my mom, I said, what's that? And she says, well, Benson High School has a radio station. And so that's where I had to go to school. So KBPS was my first extracurricular activity, and I worked there I was on the student staff for 4 years, and I went to work for the school district after that. And in my junior year, I applied to KGW for whatever they had, and what they had was a request line job with a couple of overnight shifts, running the religious shows and engineering the talk shows and that kind of stuff. And that's how I started. Hal Widston hired me in 1970, and I did that and answered the request lines and carted up oldies, because the station was on disc, carted up oldies. I worked for the station for a couple of years before I even got to say a word on the air. And that happened one Sunday morning when they still had NBC at that time, and they were going to do the World Series. And because the World Series game was going to start at 10:30 Pacific time, the disc jockey who was supposed to come on and do midday Sunday called me and says, "You can run the game, can't you?" I said, "Yeah." As sometimes happens, baseball game got rained out. So at 10:30, I hit the pot, and we go to the NBC coverage of the game, and Joe Garagiola said, "Hi, we're here in Baltimore, and we're rained out. We'll be back when we can." Ding, 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 and that was it.
And you are on.
And I'm on. So I started playing songs, and Hal called immediately and said, "What's up?" And I told him, and he said, "Well, be brief. I'll get somebody down there as soon as I can." And that was my initial broadcast on KGW radio.
So often, isn't that the way it goes? It's like, well, somebody can't make it. Oh, you're here.
Yeah.
You do it.
Oh, you're here. Oh, you're here.
Yeah.
I loved those breaking in years. You're almost always the only person in the building. 1:00 in the morning on Sunday, and you range far and wide in the building. You get to know every nook and cranny, and it was great.
And that particular building, I remember it would be good to bring change for the vending machines in the middle of the night, so you can have the chocolate chip cookie or something like that.
Always bring something with you. That's right. Always bring something with you.
Yeah. Okay, so that's your first on the air as a part-timer. Let's talk about the progression. When did you get your first real part-time shift? When did Hal go, okay, you're ready? And then you went full-time.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I guess at some point I went from the overnight tape guy to a full-time 10 to 2 guy. I did some vacation relief, but then, and this is Alan Mason's the PD. I did some vacation relief for him, and the 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. shift came open. And so he popped me in. This would be 1974.
Yeah, was that right when Joe Cooper left?
Joe, you're right.
Yeah.
When Joe Cooper left. So he popped me in that shift. And it didn't take Alan very long to figure out that there was a problem. And so he called me in. He says, we have a problem. And I said, holy cow. Oh, no.
Yeah.
What is it? And he said, the problem is you're a morning man. You're too funny. He says, I'm going to make you a deal. Until midnight, you do my format. And then after midnight, knock yourself out. Which I recognized at the time as being an extraordinary offer.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I did. And after midnight, we did just the silliest, dopiest stuff. I used to project movies on the sides of blimps and describe them as they were running and that kind of foolishness. And it was that fall that he called and said, we've got a morning show opening in Spokane, and we want you to go do that. And so, sight unseen, I said, yes, I will. And
that was the standard farm system.
packed
at,
up
King
my family
Brothers.
and went off to Spokane to be in the farm system.
There you go.
I figured I'd be there for years, and
Yeah.
it turned out to be less than 6 months.
Because Uncle Don went away,
Uncle Dunn went away.
and that's when they brought you back.
I got a phone call one morning. The station had a big ratings party, and KREM put on this big party, and we were all out until late. And I was hurt the next morning. I was impeded. I was in impeded mode. And about 8:30, the request line rings, and it's Al Mason. And he said, "Hey, could you tighten that up a little bit?" And I said, "You dog, are you here?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Are you alone?" He said, "No, Mike Phillips is here too, and we want to talk to you." And so they came into the station and we talked, and they said, "Hey, we got this thing, and we think you can do it." And so at age 20, I came back to do mornings at KGW.
Isn't that something when we consider our age today? At age 20, I had worked up to afternoon drive at KPAM, and then I left to do something else. I traveled with a band for a while, but at age 20,
Yeah.
I hit afternoon drive, and you hit morning drive. There was and in between that time when you were on 10 to 2, I used to listen. I was doing 2 to 6 at KPAM AM, and then at another time 6 to 10. So somewhere in those years, I can't remember what year it is, but I used to listen to you on my drive to work or home, depending on my shift. For some reason, people's bits stick in my mind.
Good, because I don't remember any of them.
Tom Parker, I told him one of his. Bob Anthony, in fact, not long ago, on Facebook, I told Bob Anthony this one break, and he goes, "We're still playing that song at my station in Spokane. I'm going to reuse that."
I'm going to reuse that line.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Anthony and Parker were great for that.
Yeah.
Anytime one of us, and I was kind of a loose member of the network, anytime one of us had a line, we'd jot it down on one of our yellow pads, which we all ripped off from Phil Harper, by the way, the
Yeah.
yellow pads. And we'd jot down the line, and then we'd share them.
Yeah.
So everybody had, a Rolodex of lines for songs.
Okay, I'm going to tell you one I remember.
Uh-oh.
And I'm not sure if I'll get it correctly. It was Creek Alley the one Mama Cass sang by herself, or was it another one?
Mama was a lead vocal on Creek Alley, but the one she sang by herself was "Dream a Little Dream of Me."
Dream a Little Dream. Okay,
Okay.
it had to be over that one, because she had passed already. Are you ready?
Oh no.
It went something like this. That's Mama Cass. You know by now that she passed on or something, and
about a ham
and
sandwich.
She choked on a ham sandwich,
Yeah.
and then you go, "Was that in foretaste?" And then you go, "I wonder what it did taste like." It's still in here.
Oh.
So,
See, and I often comfort myself by saying, radio, you make it and it disappears at 186,000 miles per second. But it got stuck.
in my brain,
It got stuck.
and it was probably after midnight.
I apologize to all the castlings everywhere for it.
Oh
And that
no!
was in poor taste.
Yeah.
Too soon? Yes.
Too soon. Yeah. Now that's the narrative, right? Too
Yeah,
soon.
too soon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only been 3 hours.
Yeah, you're right. Too soon is the narrative now because the assumption is that someone is going to make a joke like that at some point, right?
Right. And you want to be first.
Too soon? No.